Mingus, really one of the greatest jazz performers ever. One of my favorite albums of all time. Roy Ayers, Everybody Loves Sunshine. You know this one? It's so good. It's a classic. And then Porgy and Bess. So what's on your mind?
Oh, Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election. Women's reproductive rights are on the line. Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across the country. What are you hearing?
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us.
They not.
There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen. Again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
Listen, I know a lot of people are going to label me a hater. Particularly, this is going to come from the liberal side of the house, and it's going to come from probably Black females. It's going to come from feminists. It's going to label me a hater for what I'm going to say. And for what I've been saying about Kamala Harris is that she is, I'm not even going to use that Kendrick Lamar phrase. I'm getting tired of hearing it. I think it's overused. But she's pandering. And that's just the bottom line. As I played with you in the videos, here's somebody that they just take photo ops to show you that they're quote unquote down, that they're quote unquote in the community, in the hood, and that they're Black. Because for whatever reason, hybridized or mixed Blacks always have to prove themselves. And I get it, because, sometimes, there are very dark-skinned people that get beat up for being too Black. And then there in terms of skin tone, and then there are some Blacks that get beat up because they're very light-skinned for getting beat up for being not Black enough. So I get it. There's both ends of the spectrum. Black people, we have a lot of work to do within our races in terms of colorism. But here's a person that's been missing in action since 2020, when they were running for president, or when they got the nomination. They go to the Black churches as usual. They always pander to Blacks in the Black churches. I guess that's, I'm not totally mad at that, because that's where the constituents are, where you can reach them. But they do the same thing. It's go to Black churches. Let's get some hip hop performers, and let's invite the people to the White House for some fried chicken and have a hip hop forum, and we're going to talk hood talk. And that's exactly what she's been doing. She did it when she was vice president, rerunning. Mind you, she's been absent for 3 years. Don't talk any policy for 3 years. We haven't heard from this woman. She was not, first and foremost, let's begin here. She was not more qualified than Stacey Abrams. I'm going to keep going back to this point. Stacey Abrams was far more qualified. There was a lot of other women more qualified than Kamala. That's just the bottom line. I mean, of course, unfortunately, Hillary Clinton didn't get it. She definitely was qualified. But there's been a lot more people more qualified, but because she was a light-skinned black woman and because Joe Biden vowed to pick a black woman, she was the choice because she passed the brown paper bag in the cone test. That is a fact. She's married to a white man, and if you notice, she never really brings her white husband out with her. She kind of distances that because, I think she says that it'd probably be bad optics for me to be trolling out this joker and when I'm trying to pander to black people. She invites black HBCUs, I think the black females, to the White House, and they have a DJ and they playing Sexy Red and playing all this different music, which is foolishness. That's how you pander to blacks. They go to the churches. She calls up BET and during the BET Awards and talks to Taraji, and then she starts trying to use hood talk. Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. I'm hearing things in these streets, and they not like us. And so really, is that what we're doing? And now she's out here at 50, what is she, 58, 59 years of age, buying some vinyl records. If you were really into jazz, you would have been had those jazz records. The only excuse you can come and tell me is that I was in the house and I accidentally dropped my jazz records on the floor and they broke. I had my old Roy Ayers album. I had it, and my husband or my cousin or somebody came to my house and scratched up my jazz album. Why at this point are you going to a store? And mind you, it's a black store, so of course you got to show that she's in the hood. Well, it's not in the hood. I'm not trying to say the store's in the hood, but I'm just trying to say she's in the hood, and so to speak, linguistically, as in she's, hanging out in black areas, and she's shopping and promoting black, and then she's buying records that she should have had if she was into jazz. She would have had those records when she was 20, when she was 30, when she was 40. And trust me, I have vinyl records. I have CDs. The unfortunate thing what I did with my vinyl records was this. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I had a big collection of vinyl records. And once CDs came out, I threw away probably about 80% or 90% of my vinyl records. I got rid of them and converted everything to CDs. And then I did the same thing. Once everything went digital to MP3 format, I got rid of all of my CDs and I just have everything on MP3. But I kind of regret it now because now, the vinyl's coming back in and so forth. But I'm digressing. The point of the matter is she should have had these records. This is just to show, once again, black people that she is quote unquote black and she's pandering. But as you can see from the clip that I also inserted in here, when it comes to policy for black people, she has no policy for black people. She doesn't even want policy for black people. Once again, she's going with that. Her and her other mixed race brother, Barack Obama, they disrespect us. Once again, it's that rising tide lifts all boats. Y'all heard that before. Barack Obama said that. She's now using the term because she got it from her big brother, Barack Obama. And this is the point. When Barack was in office, and this is the thing that kind of irritates me with a lot of black people, because black people they think with their hearts first. Well, I'm not going to say all blacks, but a lot of black people, particularly black women, they think with their hearts first and not with their minds. Anytime I start asking blacks about what did Barack Obama do for you, they keep talking about getting people out of jail. And then I'm looking at them like, I know these people, like, when was the last time you were in jail? You weren't in jail. And the people that are in jail, unfortunately, they were in jail because they deserve to be in jail. But I'm not trying to say that they didn't get lengthy sentences, because they probably did, because we know the 3 strikes and you're out was definitely bad policy. But what people also have to remember is that 3 strikes policy came underneath Bill Clinton's term, a Democrat. And it was at the request of Black leadership because that was when the crack epidemics were ruining Black communities. So it was Black people who actually asked for the 3 strikes. Now, I will say this: white people leverage that 3 strikes to go after particularly Black people because we all know that justice is not blind. So when if a white judge gets a white person in front of them, similar to, let me just use this quick example. About 7 years ago, it was a young white teenager who was drinking and driving or reckless driving, and they off someone. They actually off someone driving recklessly or driving under the influence, and they got off because they called it wealthy privilege, because the person is rich, and the judge gave the person. I don't think the person got. I think they may have gotten community service. Didn't do 1 day in jail. Yet, I'm just hearing a story about an 8-year-old girl that was off by her 12-year-old cousin, and these are black girls, and the city is trying to, and trust me, the 12-year-old girl was definitely in the wrong. Apparently, she suffocated this girl with pillows and blankets and stuff, and then positioned her in a manner where it looked like she was sleeping. And so she knew what she was doing and she was trying to cover things up. I'm not justifying her actions, but the law states that she is a minor. She's 12, but the state wants to prosecute her as an adult. Now, once again, I'm not going to tell you like, okay, because that she shouldn't be prosecuted as an adult. She should or she shouldn't. But my thing is the laws. This is when things get inconsistent. When white people do crimes, they stick to the law and keep them as minors, or they get off because of white privilege, or sometimes it's pretty privilege with females, or they get off because they're cute. Casey Anthony, for example, down in Florida with her daughter, white female, offed her daughter, allegedly. I'll throw that in there. And but when it comes to us, we do get harsher laws. But Black people had a hand in those 3 strikes and you're outlaws. But let's just stick to the facts. When people talk about Barack let people out of jail, well, you can actually say Donald Trump let people out of jail too. It was a famous rapper that he pardoned, and then he let a lot of other people out. He let out a Black female. She got out of jail, and there was a bunch of other people. Now, mind you, once again, I'm not advocating because I'm not in jail. So not to say that I shouldn't care, but I think that, if you do have an excessive sentence, then it should be revisited. But if you were in jail for a reason, then you're in jail for a reason. Then they want to go with other policies that they talk about. Then the only other thing they pivot to with Obama, like I said, they pivot to the jail thing, and then they pivot to the stock market. And I keep telling people the stock market is going to rise and fall regardless of who is in office. Regardless. Some presidents, particularly Trump, I will say that because he's one in my lifetime that I can speak for, he actually was pressuring the stock market to go up and eyeing the stock market because, you got to understand he's a business guy. He's probably a financials guy. So he understands that that's one of the ways that people can get money is to get that stock market up. So during his presidency, you continuously saw him tweeting out things like to the Fed, like telling the Fed, y'all need to do this with interest rates, y'all need to do that, or y'all need to go here, go there. Not to say he had the power to do that, but he was at least engaged in trying to, use the bully pulpit to manipulate, the actions within the economic industry in order to either make increase the stock market or so forth. When have you ever seen any other president do that? You have not. And once again, I'm not advocating for Trump. I'm not denouncing Trump. I'm just pointing out particular facts. Barack Obama refused to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus. He said, I'm not meeting with y'all. I'm not putting policy forth just for Black people. I'm the president of all people, which is a true statement. But that doesn't mean to say that there hasn't been a group of people that haven't been subjugated. He refused to say, he makes that comment towards the Congressional Black Caucus that I'm going to be the president of all people, but then he goes and he has policies for LGBTQ. He has policies for women. So when do you say, well, I'm not going to have policy specifically for women or specifically for LGBTQs? I'm the president of all people. Because you can't do this, you can't say this in one area and then act in another. When Barack Obama was president, he put in a Latina judge, Sotomayor. He didn't put a black woman on there. That came from Joe Biden. It's always we do better when white people are president. When you see the more, what I mean by that is the white people will give blacks more opportunities. Black people are not going to give blacks those opportunities because I guess they feel I'm black. If I do that, I'm going to look like a racist or a prejudiced. Black people can't be racist, so let's just put that out there. We can be prejudiced, so they want to say. So those presidents steer away from certain things to not look prejudiced or biased, and that's what Barack did. He didn't pass anything for blacks. You got all of that when President Clinton was in office. You had Ron Brown. I think he was the Secretary of Commerce. He ushered in a whole cabinet of black individuals. When you saw Joe Biden, you see a lot of black people represented in his cabinet. You didn't see blacks represented in Trump's cabinet or in Bush's cabinet. So I will admit that you can't count Condoleezza. You really can't. You can't. I mean, Ben Carson, can you really count? I don't even know. So I'm not even advocating for that. I'm just pointing these out as facts. But when you look at black presidents, what have they done? None of them will take up the issue of reparations. None of them, and even if you don't even want to take up the issue of reparations, why are you always pandering to the lowest of the low blacks, i.e. the victims? So that's what I'm trying to say. When you look at Obama and now when you listen to this video of Kamala talking, they pander towards the poor blacks. And someone has already made this comment, I'm pretty sure. But when you rise all tides, that just means white people's tides get risen the same as mine. So prime example, if my net worth is 100,000 and some white person's net worth is 500,000, if you're going to rise all tides by, let's just say 100%, then my 100,000 goes up to 200,000. His 500,000 goes up to 1,000,000. So he's always going to be consistently ahead of the race. He's always going to have a head start. So it's similar to me starting my race at the starting point on the 0-yard line, and you telling a white person they're on the 50-yard line, and she's like a rising tide's going to lift our boat. Y'all can run both at 2 miles per hour. He's always going to cross the finish line faster than me. So when are they going to devise policy, even if it's not reparations, that says I'm going to help out blacks? But instead they always want to help out poor blacks. And I'm going to tell y'all something, people. Poor blacks cannot help out middle-class blacks. They just cannot. And I'll stand by that. I don't care how mad y'all get. All y'all want is y'all student loans written off. And that's also the other argument that I'm hearing from people. And this was from Joe Biden. Oh, he writing off people's student loans to put more money in people's pockets. All people are doing, those student loans getting written off is not going to help you get a better job. Those student loans, it may be saving you money here, but it's doing nothing to curb schools to lower tuition, because all we're doing is paying off the student debt for the school on behalf of the student. So the school is not incentivized to lower tuitions. So tuitions are going to continually increase. So what's the incentive? It's just, people are just saying, well, it puts more money in people's pockets. Yeah, and it's putting money in white people's pockets, Asian people's pockets, Latino people's pockets. And meanwhile, they're bringing in more and more Latinos. And here's the policy that they have directed towards Latinos, illegal ones, and not even just Latinos, but it's more so Latinos because they're coming across the border. But you have illegal Canadians here. You have illegal Europeans here. And they get policy where it's, okay, well, if you're here and you came here illegally, we'll let you stay. We'll just develop a pathway to citizenship. When do they do that for black people? So they have a policy, once again, they have a policy for gays. Be as gay as you want to be. Do what you want to do. Use whatever pronouns you want to use. Play in whatever sport league you want to play in. If you go to jail, get your breast done. Get your appendage cut off, and we'll put you in the women's jail, but you can still knock them all out. You can play in women's basketball leagues. You can do all of this different stuff. They have policy for gays. They have policy for immigrants. When you come here, we'll give you $500, $1,000 a month. It'll help you get on your feet. It'll help you eat. Mind you, this is money they have not contributed to. This money comes out of Social Security. This money comes out of programs that we, as citizens, as taxpaying citizens, middle class taxpaying citizens, we pay for. And they get stuff. And then women get stuff. My body, my choice. I get to do what I want to do. I want to have the baby, and even though the man doesn't want to have the baby, he doesn't have a choice. If I want to have this baby, he has to support me, and he has to give me money for me to keep this baby. So the man doesn't have a choice. But we develop all of these policies for women. They want their birth control paid for. They want to be able to do what they want to do with their bodies. We're carrying this feminism portion way too seriously. When have white women ever been a victim? White women have never been victims ever. They were the ones victimizing black people. They were victimizing black women, and they were victimizing black men. And that is a fact. They've been doing it ever since slavery, and they own slaves. But yet now white women are victims, and they get specialty programs. What do you give to men? I'm just curious about that. And so my thing too is, why do they always pander to the lowest of the low in our community? Once again, like I told y'all, Obama had this My Brother's Keeper program. It was targeted to help people learn how to read by the age of third grade, to make sure that you're reading on your appropriate reading level and that you're, college ready. And I'm just kind of like, and then help mentor people to keep people out of jail. It's like, okay, I'm not trying to say it's not a good program. It's a decent program. But once again, I keep telling y'all, and I'm going to give you a scenario right now. If you are a middle class person and you need help, let's just say you need a job, you need something, who are you going to rely on? Would you rely on a upper class black? Let's just say like Don Peoples, even Sean Puffy Combs. Let's just say Sean didn't have his problems and he has his business, he has his job. You can look at Tyler Perry. You can look at, let's just name, but you get the gist. You look at a black millionaire that has a business who can employ you. Or you're going to look to another middle class person who has business aspirations, but they're just kind of like, you know what? I'm solid in my career and I don't want to risk losing my middle class status by trying to start a business. But I'm financially savvy, I'm financially disciplined, I have good morals when it comes to finances. I do my due diligence and fiduciary duty to individuals. Would you trust that individual? Or would you trust the individual who's poor, broke? They never finished college. They didn't even go to college. They spent their young years out in the streets, either being freaks or being drug dealers, not going to school. And now when they got 22 and 25, now they decide that they want to get their life together and they deserve a second chance or a chance. But yet they can't pay their bills. Every time they get paid, they always borrowing money and telling people they'll pay you back when I get my taxes. Which individual are you going to go to for help and support? You're probably going to go to the Tyler Perrys, the upper class blacks first. Then you're probably going to go to the middle class black and say, hey, look, if anybody's going to give me advice, it's going to be him. You're not going to these lower class blacks. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, once again, Barack Obama, and even when you listen to Kamala Harris in that clip, all she says is, I'm going to give tax breaks to people that make less than $60,000. Okay, so basically you're excluding me from that, and so you're penalizing me as a black male because I make more than $60,000. So now you're basically saying I don't deserve help because I'm employed, and you want to keep me an employee, and you don't want to help black people become entrepreneurs and build generational wealth. But you want to continue to funnel money to poor blacks that can't help anybody. The only thing they're going to do with with the checks or the tax breaks that you give them is buy more Jordans, buy something that they don't need, go into debt, ruin this money. And that's the bottom line of what basically these the poor blacks are going to do. They don't develop programs that say, well, listen, We're going to encourage black businesses to hire other black people. Your company, if you're a black-owned business, and I'm talking about like a mid-sized business, and when we say mid-sized business, we're talking about 500 plus employees. I'm pretty sure like Tyler Perry's business would fall into a mid-class business. Oprah Winfrey's own network would be a mid-size. I'm pretty sure. I mean, she's probably not even mid. I don't know how many employees these people have. But Don Peoples, if you're familiar with real estate and construction, I'm pretty sure he probably has a mid-sized business. These are mid-sized businesses, people. Just because you have 500 to 1,000 employees, you're not a big business. I hope you know that. You have to have like 100,000 employees. You have to be a Tesla. You have to be an Amazon. You have to be a Microsoft, a Google in order to be considered a big business and considered a large company. That's the bottom line. You can be a business making $2-3 billion a year and still be considered a mid-sized business based on your employee size, because other businesses are bringing in $20-40 billion a year. So what I'm basically saying is this: they don't incentivize businesses to promote blacks and to make blacks executives. These people like Kamala Harris and Barack Obama are perfectly fine with you just being workers, with you going to school, paying the white man, paying white institutions to get you educated, and an education is not going to guarantee you a job. And most of y'all already know that. Education doesn't guarantee you anything. And that's all Kamala Harris and Barack Obama want to do, is make sure that you continue to support the white infrastructure. Because if you go to school, most of y'all aren't going to black institutions. You're not going to HBCUs. And even if you were, once you get that degree, somebody has to hire you. And there's no guarantee. People aren't obligated to hire you, as most people are seeing in this economy. So when your resume comes across somebody's desk, they have the right, or if you go in for a job interview and they get to look at you and see that you're black, they don't have to hire you. And even if they hire you, they don't have to promote you. Y'all need to listen to, there's a lot of people that can talk great on entrepreneurship, but you're not owed anything. And that's why I'm just confused by Kamala Harris and Barack Obama when they always gear things towards middle class. Why not gear things when they gear things towards the lower class, why not gear things toward middle class blacks and blacks that have entrepreneurial interests, to say, we're going to pressure venture capitalists to demand that they funnel money to black tech companies. We're going to funnel money to blacks and give them grants to start AI-based businesses, tech-based businesses. We're going to funnel money to black businesses, but the only way, there got to be a criteria. If you're a black business owner, you have to have a staff that is at least 70% black. And your executive management staff, your executives have to be at least 60 or 70% black as well. But they don't do this. And Kamala Harris is basically playing off of us. And people are falling for it. She's going to the record store. And the next thing you know, she's going to be eating, I'm telling you, she's going to be eating fried chicken from the carryout. She's going to go to the carryout and get her some chicken wings. And then she's going to throw some hot sauce on it. And I don't understand why people keep falling for this stuff. She leaked the story literally when she was running for president in 2020. You all can go fact check this. I'm not going to, well, let me say she allegedly. I got to throw that in. She allegedly leaked the story. I'm assuming, this is just me, I'm making the assumption that Kamala Harris's team leaked the story. When she was running for president in 2020, a story came out how she had an affair with some black mayor. So I think it was a mayor. I think he was a mayor of San Francisco or mayor somewhere in California. What they were trying to do was show people that she's black and that she's interested in black men. That's what they were doing, because they knew that she had this white husband, and they know that black people weren't going to be receptive towards her. Number one, because she's already light, and now you got a white husband, which makes you not a part of our community at all. I'm trying to figure out where the connection is between you and our community. And so these are things, people, that you all have to pay attention to. Don't vote for this woman because she's black and because she's a woman. There are going to be other black women that are going to run that deserve it way more than Kamala Harris does. Kamala Harris does not deserve our vote. I would rather sit under 4 more years of Trump. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'd rather sit 4 more years under Trump and force the Democratic Party to start taking us seriously. Because trust me, when people start losing, if the Democrats lose and then say, dang, how did we put a black woman here? How did we still lose? We thought we would energize people. And then the blacks really walk into her office and say, this is what we really want. And if y'all don't continue to listen to us, the next election is going to be the same way. The next election, you'll be dealing with 4 years of J.D. Vance, possibly 8. But we're willing to come back to the Democratic Party if you put reparations on the table or you put some programs funneled towards helping blacks build generational wealth and not just try to give us handouts and jobs. We don't want to, don't give me a fish, because if you give me a fish, I'm only going to eat for a day. We want to be empowered to fish. Give me a boat. Let me own the fishing reels. Let me own the hooks. Let me own the bait. I want that. I don't want you to just come drop me off a fish from your boat so I can eat for a day, as the Bible would say. I want to be able to fish for myself. And once we lay out our demands, then they'll take us seriously. I would rather lose one election and suffer for 4 years under Donald Trump. And trust me, those 4 years that we they went through fast last time, and the world didn't end. I would rather go through 4 more years with him and get a lifetime of respect from the Democratic Party than for us to continually just put people in place because we're doing identity politics or we're voting with our heart. And we're continually not getting the agenda that we really need to get. So this is all I just have to say on this matter. If you have anything to add in, just definitely leave comments in the comments section. Also hit the like and subscribe. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out.